Welcome in to another Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. My name is Gabe Anderson, and I'm joined, as always, by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
We're doing well, man. We're hot.
We are.
Who's better than us right now?
Not maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers, but
maybe
that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. It's hard to get to that level on a year-to-year basis. In fact, I saw a stat on the Cleveland, something on Twitter on the Cleveland Cavaliers. There are about, I think it was 10 or 11 teams in the NBA that have never had a 15-game winning streak. The Wolves are one of them, and Cleveland has had two 15-game winning streaks this year.
Yeah, I saw that. They've got like 3 of the 4 longest winning streaks. Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, and more power to. How about not to get too much in the Cavs, but I know we talked about this before, but how about the great switch that was made between coaches? I mean, JB Bickerstaff goes to Detroit. Look at what Detroit's doing. They're the 6th seed right now. And then Kenny Atkinson comes in to Cleveland, and they're unbelievable.
Both those guys are great coaches. I was kind of surprised about the JB Bickerstaff firing. Yeah. I mean, I considered him one of the top 5 coaches in the league, to be fully honest. And he's looking at it. He's looking like it right now. And Atkinson he was a G League guy that pushed the pace and was a really kind of innovator there. And then, had sat on the bench with a lot of great coaches and had a good stint. I thought he kind of got a bad shake in, I believe it was the Nets. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was time for both those guys, and good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk Timberwolves, another hot team, as we were saying, I should say. They have won 6 in the row, and you could say what you wanted about the first 5 wins of that 5-game winning streak. You could basically say, oh, the Wolves weren't playing anybody. They were playing teams highly injured or teams that won't make any noise in the postseason. But you can't say that about last night. Just an all-around performance for these Timberwolves against the Denver Nuggets. And they're now, I saw this stat, the Wolves are now 6-0 against the teams that they beat in the playoffs last year. And if you add in that Dallas team who they lost to, they're now 8-1 against those teams.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, I'm going to put a lot of it on Tim Conley. Like, he will, he built the team to compete with Denver, which was smart because Denver at the time was the team to beat. And we figured them out. Like, we've got the personnel and we've got the strategy to do it. And now he's kind of adjusted, and, we're at the point where we're going to be a tough outcome playoff time.
Mm-hmm. And now the caveat to this is look at last year with the Phoenix Suns versus the Timberwolves, where the Phoenix Suns dominated us in the regular season, and then we go 4-0 in the playoffs. But it could potentially be a Wolves-Nuggets first-round matchup, and I just had a couple stats for what the Wolves have been doing to Jamal Murray. I mean, they just make him uncomfortable. You saw it in the playoffs last year, and now there were some games where he played great because I think he's a great player and probably the best, in my opinion, the best player to never make an all-star team in the NBA right now. I think he's an absolute stud. But this season, these are the points output for Jamal Murray against the Minnesota Timberwolves. 6, 25. Okay, he had a good game there, but we did blow him out. And 12. So he's averaging 14.3 points per game against the Timberwolves, shooting 42% and 30% from 3. And he's averaging a minus 11.3 against the Timberwolves this year. The combination of Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jaden McDaniels and even Anthony Edwards to some extent just make it uncomfortable for Jamal Murray and the Nuggets.
Yeah, I was going to say Edwards had the assignment, at least at the beginning of the game. Things always get switched up with, but yeah, I mean, that was his guy in the beginning of the game, and he looked great. A lot of it is this whole Chris Finch strategy where he's going to let Nikola Jokic go off scoring the ball and just stay on your guys. Don't double team him. Let Rudy handle him one-on-one. And what's going to happen is going to happen. Just make it tough for him, but eliminate all the easy buckets that he sets up for other guys. And like Randall said, I'd rather have him score 40 points than go 30, 20, and 20,
right.
Like it's more of a strategy. And we did the same thing with SGA, where we dropped that 2-3 zone on him and really, really threw OKC for a turn. And now other teams after we did that have been doing that.
Yep.
It's a copycat league, and Chris Finch is, one of the guys that people tend to copy, it seems like.
Yeah, and you mentioned Nikola Jokic, and you look at his stat line, 33 points, right? 34 points. And you would think for any other player on any other night, man, that guy had a great game. But I honestly thought that Rudy Gobert did a great job, and they talked about it a lot after on the post-game presser. I thought Rudy did a great job making him uncomfortable, making him a scorer, and I think this is attributed to the other Wolves on defense as well. Just there were no passing lanes. There was nothing for Nikola Jokic to do, and basically the only thing he could do was take a tough two.
Yep. And again, that's what we'll do. We'll let him try to beat us and hold the other guys down, and it's been effective.
It really has. So Julius Randle continues. I know we've been talking about him for a good amount of time here on this podcast, but I just want to read you his stats for the month of March, which is basically since he's been back, since that Phoenix game. 51% from the field. Okay, not good from three, 33%. 86% from the free throw line, averaging 6.5 assists, 7.5 rebounds, and 18.8 points. And just in total control of the offense. And he was talking after the game where he said that, or after a couple games ago, he was talking about the injury to him was actually a good thing for him. Now, it may have cost the team a little bit, but it was a good thing because it allowed him to step back, kind of take a wider view of the squad and kind of figure out his place in the squad, kind of watch from the sidelines and say, hey, this is when I need to be a scorer. This is when I need to distribute. Right. And for example, last night, the call on him was to score. Like that's what he needed to do. He put up 25 points last night. Game before that, it was distributing. He's still going to put up the points. He put up 14, but almost had a triple-double in the 2 games before that. So he's seeing and reading the play, particularly on offense, so much better, and it's so great to watch.
Yeah, I mean, for most of the season, when he does his when he drives to the basket, because the great thing about Randle is, with his handle, if you're defending with a power forward, that power forward's not used to being, defending a guy 40 feet out that's planning on driving. Like that's not what they're usually used to defending. So he gets to the paint, everybody collapses, and he kicks us out to the shooter or starts the rotation on offense. But last night they were staying home, much like we were, and they
right. He talked about that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're not doubling him, so he's like, "Well, then I'm going to take these shots. Like I'm going to take these, free throw line jumpers," and he was hitting them. So, he's a vet, and he's been, like we've said before, he's been a 2-time All-NBA player, 3-time All-Star. This guy's seen every defense guys have tried to throw at him, and he knows, how to play the game. So. That sort of experience is going to help us quite a bit.
Right. And he's been very straightforward talking about what he wants from this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And he's just straight up, he's been saying it's all about winning. Like he really doesn't care about anything else on the court. And he basically has been saying, when they've asked him, what do I need to do? He's basically been saying, what's ever asked of me. For example, like we were talking about, if I need to be a scorer tonight, I'll be a scorer. If I need to be a Ricky Rubio out on the court, that's what I'll do. Well, I guess it's kind of a point forward, Ricky Rubio. But, I mean, he's just doing what we've needed. And, of course, don't forget, last 11 games he's played, the Wolves have won.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he said that when he came here originally, that all he cares about winning now. He wants to have a nice, place for his family and winning. A lot of people say that, so it's like, okay, sure.
Right, yeah.
But it seems to be legit. And I would assume guys coming from like, LA and coming from New York, like he's been in those giant markets. He's had all that crazy outside pressure on him. It's got to be kind of relieving to come to Minnesota where, other than some fans that, got on him early, the pressure's not really there so much. And
right.
He can just play ball, and his family can chill without people getting on him. It's got to be nice. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next year with his contract. Maybe he'll take a Jalen Brunson type team friendly deal because he just wants to be somewhere where he's comfortable that wins.
Right, for sure. I could definitely see that. You know what? I didn't realize he was in New York for 5 years.
Yeah.
I thought it was a much shorter stint than that. Crazy.
No, yeah.
Because obviously he was with the Pelicans for a couple of years as well. But yeah, I didn't realize how, because I was listening to another podcast, which you should check out if you haven't, No Dunks. And they said that Julius Randle was there for 5 years. And I was like, what? No chance.
Yeah, I mean, he drug a team that was led by their center was Nerlens Noel, and Alfred Payton was their starting point guard. I think they're just bums, and these are guys that are like all out of the league now, and that was, he brought them to the playoffs in the Knicks. So he was there for a lot of different roster changes through that franchise.
Right, almost like what D'Lo did for the Brooklyn Nets on that one run, which I still say has made him a lot of money in the NBA. That one run and one All-Star appearance, that has made him a lot of money. And actually now he's back in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Crazy of all things. But like we were saying, the Wolves on a 6-game winning streak. And how about this? The Wolves have won during their 6-game winning streak by an average of almost 15 points, 14.3 points. And that's with one of the games them winning by 2. So, I mean, not only are we avoiding a lot, other than that one game, we're avoiding crunch time, like where we're terrible. We're avoiding clutch time. Like, for example, I was, again, listening to No Dunks, and they were saying that the Oklahoma City Thunder have won 42 games this year by 10 points or more. That's crazy. So you want to know the best way to avoid losing is to avoid clutch time altogether. Take care of the games that you're supposed to take care of, and that's what the Wolves have been doing.
For sure. And a lot of it is just some of these veteran leaders are coming back. Like Mike Conley has come back, and I mean, quietly, he's shooting 40% from 3 now, and his last couple months, he's really stepped it up right now in the last, I think he's shooting 58% from 3 in March, 42% in February. Like he's really picked his game up back to the level like it was last year. I know he came into the season and they said he had a wrist injury that he might need to have surgery on, and he decided to play through it. But, after the All-Star break and he took some time off, I think maybe that's what he needed, and he's back healthy. Rudy took some time off. Randall took some time off. These are our vets. I think sometimes that time off in the middle of the season is huge for these guys, that they can just refresh and maybe be ready for a nice, big, long playoff run.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned Mike Conley. I saw a tweet from Charlie Walton, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago. He said Mike Conley's last 4 games, 12 points, 4.5 assists, 3.8 rebounds. But here's the kicker, like you were mentioning, 60.7 from the field, 58.8 from three-point land. And Mike Conley was on Dan Barrero, just to finish up Charlie Walton's tweet.
Yeah.
He said, I am probably the healthiest I've ever been. I've been all year, probably playing with the most clarity I played with all year.
Awesome.
I know. That's exactly what you want to hear.
And I was down on him for a while. I mean, we were talking about
there was no reason to be up on him for a while.
Right. He was trash. So his turnaround is stunning, and it's needed, and it's great. It's probably come at the cost of Dillingham, but
That's fine.
Sometimes you need that vet leader out there, and you don't need a 19-year-old kid. Let him get some hunger by sitting on the bench so that he comes back stronger next year.
And that let's say for some reason it doesn't work out in Minnesota for Dillingham. Now, obviously, you want your draft picks to work out. You want to give them a chance. But let's say like someone always takes Dillingham's place going forward, and there's not really room for Dillingham. I think there's going to be some team, I don't know which one it is, but some team is going to give him a chance. It's a talent like that. A lottery pick is going to get a chance somewhere else. Now, I like I said, I don't want to give up on Dillingham yet.
No.
There's no reason to. I'm just saying that if he gets overpassed for more experience, there's going to be some team that'll take a chance on him.
Yeah, his career's long from over.
Right. Absolutely. And it's interesting because we were so excited about Dillingham coming in the season. We traded up to get him. He's going to be this Lou Williams type scorer.
Yeah.
But I think it just shows Chris Finch's strategy, and it shows his hand a little bit that no, who of the rookies is he playing in the rotation consistently? It's the defensive one. It's the defensive-minded one in Jalen Clark.
Right. And even Terrence Shannon Jr., who's quote-unquote a rookie, but he's 3 years older than Jaden McDaniels. So like
he's older than Ant.
Right. So like that guy, he's kind of on a put up or shut up type time of his career. So it's been great. Like what we've been doing is great. We're playing about 10 guys. Everyone's contributing. I feel like everybody has a role and is happy right now. That goes a long ways. Having a team that's all kind of, has good vibes, that's a powerful thing to have, especially when you're on a winning streak. It kind of keeps all that stuff going.
Man, it makes you think back to where now baseball is a long season, but also the NBA is a long season as well. Like you can't get down on any particular game. Like you can't unless it's like game 7 of the NBA finals and you lose, then you can get down. But just think back to when, I forget who we lost to, but Anthony Edwards after the game said, I don't know what I'm going to do against double teams. Like he was very defeated, very much like, I have no idea how we're going to fix this. Look at us now.
It's been a big turnaround. It's been a big turnaround. And he's been part of it for sure. And a lot of
he's been awesome.
He's been getting off the ball earlier so that we can get in some, get the ball moving so other guys can touch it. I think we're in a good spot. We've been saying it all year. Just be playing the best ball we can in April. That's all. That's been my mantra since day one. Talking about Randle, like having some time to sit back and look. We've talked about on here, but people forget they showed the trade happened the day before the first preseason game.
Right.
Like he didn't have a time to see anything. Like here, you're starting tomorrow, like that's a hard job to just walk into on a brand new team that just made the Western Conference Finals. And most guys have like their roles already cut out, and now you're taking chunks of it. I'm glad where we're at right now. And like I said, when April comes around, if we're hot, we're going to be dangerous.
I totally agree. And what I've loved about Ant, he's making the right decisions. There aren't a lot of times where I watch Ant where he chucks one up when he doesn't have to. I just think that the basketball IQ of Ant has gone sky high. And hey, if you're shooting a ton of threes, but you're making them, keep shooting. That's today's NBA. Look at the Celtics. Now, I know they lost the game against Oklahoma City, and a lot of that was because they didn't have Kristaps Porzingis. But, look at how many threes the Celtics are putting up. And who are they? They're the defending NBA champions. So
exactly.
So it's not live by the three, die by the three. It's not the old adage. It's no, you have to shoot the three or you're going to die.
Speaking of 3-point shooting, for all the crap that I give Jaden on his 3-point shooting, which is like been historically bad, since Rudy's come back, he's shooting like 60% from three. I mean, it's 2-game stretch. Who knows? But it's a confidence game, and maybe that'll be just enough to get him. I mean, he's not going to be shooting 60%. That's ridiculous. But even if he can get up to like 35%, I mean, his corner, he had when he was playing well for us, when the last 10 or so games, he had like a 7-game stretch there when he was playing his best ball where he was shooting 15% from three. So like that confidence wasn't there from three. If he can keep his cutting and keep his activity around the rim, keep his rebounding and tip-ins, keep that energy there and have confidence to put it up from three when he needs to, that's going to be just added love come playoff time.
Yeah, and Jaden had some huge buckets last night. Two corner threes in a row, the same exact spot. And that's what you love. That's almost shows the evolution of Anthony Edwards right there, because sometimes when he's double teamed back before, I think he figured it out a little bit, he would just throw up some tough shot and then yell, "Hey," hoping to get fouled. Now he's finding great passes to a wide open Jane McDaniels who's splashing them. It's just been so fun to watch this team, and I'm so excited. By the way, something to keep an eye on right now if you're listening tonight. It may be over by the time you're listening to this, but the Golden State Warriors are playing Sacramento on TNT. Pretty important game there. That's the only downer from this win streak is, yes, we're winning all these games, but so are the Warriors.
Golden State, yeah. Yeah, I mean, what do you do? I'm not worried about them though. I mean, I think we can handle them. But yeah, they're keeping pace. So I think they're half a game up?
No, we're virtually, well, when you're listening to this, you may, depending on who wins the game, but we're virtually tied. So if Golden State loses tonight, we would go to 6.
I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with us. I think we've got the schedule and we've got the momentum and we've got the depth of our team that we're going to be able to keep this run going. Steph Curry's been doing so much heavy lifting for them that's going to be hard to maintain till the end of the season. So I think we're fine.
Yeah, and you mentioned strength of schedule, like I was mentioning on my last podcast here. Wolves have the easiest strength of schedule left in the Western Conference. And if you're wondering about Golden State, which obviously we are, they have in the Western Conference, they have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have the 11th easiest schedule in the Western Conference. So they have the Knicks, Nuggets twice, Memphis, Lakers, Rockets, Bucks, and then easy, theoretically, they have New Orleans, Toronto, Blazers, 2 against the Spurs, 1 against the Heat, and 1 against the Suns. So,
yeah, they got a tough schedule. I mean, that's going to be – they're not going to be able to keep up with us, I don't think, through that. And if they are, then they're going to be playing really well, so good for them.
Right, yeah.
You were talking about – You're talking about Anthony Edwards' play, and especially like him just throwing something up and looking for a foul. I just thought of this when you said that. I wonder if him having no technicals left before he gets more suspensions type thing, I wonder if that's helping him get out of this. I'm gonna try for a foul, and if I don't get it, I'm gonna bitch at the refs sort of vibe, where he's just in a play hoops type vibe now, and he's not trying to game the system. I wonder if that's part of it, or if it's just we're on a roll and he doesn't want to be a non-team player type thing.
Right, and I think you live and learn, right? Like for sure. Even though we've had him for a while, he's still a young guy. He's still figuring it out, how to be a superstar in this league. And yeah, I think the arguing has been a lot better, particularly I don't remember him arguing a call at all last night, other than like a quick, and then you move on. But it's where he gets in trouble, I think, is when he's talking right to the ref and he's like clapping at him. That's where he gets in trouble. Like, you can't do that. Like, I don't care if you're Jesus Christ himself. You can't clap at the ref like that.
They're gonna call you.
Right. And they should. They should, honestly. Even if it was a bad call. Even if it was a bad call. And
the league says you can't clap at the refs. So if they tell you you can't do that and you do it, well, I mean, the refs kind of have to go with what the league say. You know, I mean.
Right. Right. I mean, like and that's what he's learned for sure from all of this. And like I said, I'm hoping that's because every technical now on, he misses a game.
Yep.
Now, that doesn't go into the playoffs, which thank God. Could you imagine if we lose like a game 7 because Ant clapped at a ref?
some crazy technical that was kind of like out of, you know, like some ref had a bad night or something. Yeah.
Right. Ed Malloy. You know Ed Malloy.
Yeah.
You remember that call, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's such a bad. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Ed Malloy, Kevin Love versus the Mavericks. And I think most Wolves fan, if you're a younger Wolves fan, you might not know what I'm talking about, but it's egregious. It's an egregious miscall. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. Which, by the way, in the off season would be fun to go through like the worst miscalls in Wolves history, or the best or the worst like reffing blunders. That'd be a fun video to do.
You'd have a lot.
You would. And that's the other thing with where I was trying to go with the officiating. Now, I get you only get one challenge unless you get it right. But like, don't argue with the refs. Go to your coach and say, hey, challenge it. Like, unless you don't have one left. Like, there's a way to get by it. There's a way to fix what was wronged.
Exactly.
Not clapping at him isn't going to do anything.
Fully agree.
All right, so the Timberwolves moving forward, they play the Magic on Friday. Yeah. Magic struggling right now, although they're winning tonight. They will be on a back-to-back. They're beating Zion and the Pelicans tonight pretty easily. I think they're up like 22. Should win pretty easily. So Paolo, they're a team that struggles to score. Very good defensively. Didn't have the full squad when we played them last time. Didn't have Franz Wagner, I believe. Didn't have Paolo Banchero. But hey, if you want to make the playoffs, you got to win these games at home. A 5-game homestand coming up. And then they got Utah, which you got to get that with. That's a team that just got fined by the NBA for not playing their players, which the next night they threw out Lauri Markkanen for the first time since like February. So you got to expect the full strength team there. Or maybe they'll sit some players. I don't know. And then you got the Pelicans. Or am I missing someone?
Pacers, Pelicans, Pacers.
Right.
I mean, it's not unheard of for us to run the table from here on out. Like, it sounds ridiculous because we're on a winning streak. But, I mean, the only really teams that we have coming up, we have a Grizzlies game, which is a third to last game, which it's very possible at that point they're going to be the 2 seed or 3 seed locked in, and they're going to be resting some guys. We have the Bucks right before that, which might be the same situation, and the Nuggets. So, like, other than the Nuggets, the Bucks, and the Grizzlies, everyone else is like, we're going to be for sure favored to win.
Right.
And we've got the Nuggets, number. So like, I'm not worried to say we're going to beat them again isn't completely ludicrous. So then you've got, Bucks and Grizzlies, only thing stopping you from maybe sweeping, like going on a 20-game win streak to finish the season. I mean, the schedule really turned out in a nice way for us and at a good time to really gel, and we'll see what happens, but we're going to be pretty hot coming into the playoffs.
And I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Now you got to go out and win the games. That's important. You got to go out and win the games. But the buffer at the end of the season, where you got home versus the Nets, and then you end with home versus the Jazz. I like that buffer a lot. I like that a lot because I feel like the West is so close, and those games I'm not saying they will, but potentially could be the difference between 8 and 6. It's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible.
Or if we're locked in, we can rest Rudy and we can rest, Anthony Edwards maybe, or like mix it up a little bit and give these guys a little break going into the playoffs. So,
right.
Yeah, we're sitting in a good spot. Everyone's happy. Everything's humming. Knock on wood. Let's just stay healthy and let's see what happens.
Right. Absolutely. So make sure to give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and or Apple. And one thing I like to do to end the show, I like to read one review from Apple Podcasts. So make sure to leave us a review if you listen on Apple Podcasts. Excuse me. This is titled Real Good Show. 5 stars from Jay Weaves. It says, I'm a Bucks fan, but enjoy the Wolves' success this season. So it's great to hear knowledgeable guys break down what's going on in Minnesota. So thank you, Jay Weaves. Appreciate it. And make sure to leave your review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're listening on Spotify, leave us a 5-star rating and 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts as well. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
No problem. Thank you, man. It's always good when we're on a hot streak.
It is. It's always fun. This is the Running with the Timberwolves podcast, and as always, go Wolves.